Wow, really wondering if as I do this video, Bitcoin's going to breach, fall below $20,000, very close, dollars away. I want to talk about the move that's happening right now. This chart just it's like fine art. This is like the most brilliant technical analysis set up once again proving itself as we've been tracking it, and it's happening right now. And I just want to, before we even start talking about the targets to the downside, the targets that we're hitting pretty much right now and where we should look for support, I just want to note something. When we're looking at this chart right here, this is a move to the downside, obviously. But these moves, they happen time and time again. And I know it's been a rough bear market, but you can go all the way back to, exiting bear markets. Big red moves happen often, right? So you can just zoom out on a chart. And I just want to note that because it seems like when moves like this happen, there's always headlines basically discussing the fact that Bitcoin, it might be at its end. This is too bad this time. We're going to 5K, right? So I see that happen a lot. And it's just like, why does that happen so easily when we're just, first off, hitting a technical analysis target, its structure on the charts? We're pivoting from a crazy brutal bear market into the next bull cycle. And we better be grateful for dips like this because this is what they're made of. The shift to bull market is made of dips like this. And I just want to say that this is how I see the charts. Is my opinion. I know I'm probably too bullish for some people. It's too much hopium. I get that the economy is not looking good and likely we're waiting for the data to get even worse. But I've said time and time again, I think markets are going to bottom and reverse before the economy. And that's not because it's just my opinion. This is based off of historical data, historical context to other cycles over the decades. So let's dig into this note and talk about the move that's happening. I'm not going to show a clip, but this is from March 7th. We were just talking about the move, breaking that lower trend line out of that structure, the move to the $19,000, $20,000 area, and look at it. It's playing out very nicely. Now, just as often is the case, so many times, it's kind of an event. It's something happening that triggers a news headline that triggers this. And right now, there's a lot of uncertainty with jobs data tomorrow. Next week, it's March 14th, is CPI data coming out. But I really think it's the uncertainty revolving around jobs data. Wasn't a great day for crypto narratives in general. SEC going after KuCoin, I believe it. I just saw, amongst other things. So needless to say, though, this is tomorrow, 8:30 a.m., around 12 hours away. March 10th, 8:30 a.m., big data release coming out for the current employment situation. For quick context to that, Wall Street economists expect the February jobs report to show employers added 220,000 jobs. So that's around what they're expecting. So as a rule of thumb, when it gets released tomorrow, if it's above that or way above that, that's going to be no bueno. Now it says, yet coming after January's 517,000 job gain, even a big downside surprise of say $100,000 or 100,000 jobs versus the 220,000 expected would still mean the economy added more than 300,000 jobs in each of the first 2 months of the year. So no matter how you spin it, even if it's like decent numbers tomorrow, I think the market right now is basically saying we're not off to a good start this year. The Fed is looking hawkish. We just heard from Jerome Powell the last 2 days, and it's not looking good. So we're seeing markets right now. Here's S&P 500 down. This is a red week, right? And we're seeing markets fall because the sentiment is not very good right now. In this video, I'm not going to really dig into it. I think there might be a nice surprise March 14th with some potentially positive CPI data, in which case markets could rally, especially after right now, everything that's been being digested, I think we're getting close to it being over, right? Now we pivot to the technical analysis perspective. We see the headlines. We see the emotion that's playing into it, the uncertainty that's playing into the charts. It's the trigger of this breakout to the downside of the consolidation pattern. If there was a bullish trigger, something crazy bullish happened, maybe we would got to bounce to the upside and markets would be going green. This is why we do technical analysis. So to find the structure and wait for confirmations and targets to be hit. So we have a $19,000 to $20,000 target being hit right now, but that's not the only piece of it that I want to discuss. I want to also discuss where, if things get really bad, maybe it's a terrible data release tomorrow, where is support that we should keep an eye on now that we've kind of hovered into the target range. So let's do that in this video and talk about that. And then I want to discuss why this move right here potentially quite bullish in the macro. So please hit that like button for me, hit that subscribe, and let's do it. So the first things first, what I want to evaluate before we talk about why it's potentially bullish and what that could look like, I do want to talk about targets of support. Now, if we're just very simply zooming out on the daily, we do have our target out of this pattern that we've tracked. We're pretty much there. $19,000 to $20,000 is what we've been saying. But if we take our swing low from November to our swing high currently that we just put in, we see Bitcoin we have a 618 higher low right around 19,100 and the 786 line around 17,500. That's an area that we would just, it's not a target out of any particular pattern. This is an area higher low support that we should monitor. If tomorrow is just very bearish and something bad happens and the markets are not absorbing it at all and Bitcoin's capitulating, crypto's going crazy, what happens to Bitcoin when it falls into this range? Something to note, if that happens, Bitcoin on this daily RSI, slower moving momentum oscillator, already in oversold and approaching this area where historically it gets ready for a bounce. So we're kind of approaching this oversold area where we're either going to get ready to consolidate sideways at the very least or some kind of bounce. So keep that in mind. I think, at least I am, as we go into the next 12 hours, as we go into tomorrow's news, Bitcoin is primed for a bounce. Maybe the markets digest what has happened. They get the numbers, they realize what they are, and they're ready to move on, and they're ready to kind of make some moves to the upside, right, in anticipation of next week's CPI data. So, but the support area really to truly watch is this range. It's around 19,100 to around 17,600. It's that emergency area of support that I would be watching. And if you note what's right there, and I'm zoomed all the way out on the daily, is one of my favorites. It's the last bear market low to bull market high, and it's that macro 786 line, right? It's almost perfectly confluent with our area of support. It's a macro pullback. The 786 is right around $17,300. That line is our bear market low indicator. We had a very similar area in the last bear market low back here, and we wait for Bitcoin to bottom out below this area, which it most recently has, and testing that area, I think, would be a crucial key move for Bitcoin. So that's in play as well, but it's very confluent with our short to midterm higher low area that we just talked about. So we zoom back in. There's our green channel of support. There's our macro yellow line, that 786. It's all right there. That's what I'd be watching for if Bitcoin's going to keep falling and things kind of get really bad tomorrow. Now, why, if we get rid of this Fibonacci, could this potentially be a bullish thing? Well, we've discussed previously, if we go back to the weekly, Bitcoin is, and there's no guarantees, but it could very well be putting in a higher low. What do you need for a higher low? You need the low to be put in. You need red candles. If we want the pivot from bull market to bear market, if we want this to be the low, right, for this bear market, and we want a bull market to approach, especially as we have this white line, the halving approaching, we have to deal with and live through and embrace, and I would even say be grateful for red candles. We should be grateful for these tests that come into play, that cool Bitcoin back down on the macro, so we can pivot out of this market, right? And we can just kind of, even if it's sideways and painful, we can enter the next bull, right? So we need these things to happen. But if we look at the weekly RSI now we start getting kind of hints of what this could really be. So weekly RSI, if you look at it on this momentum oscillator, we just kind of had higher lows on the RSI, and it's starting to kind of have this bullish vibe of momentum, and there's room even for another higher low. So what will that look like for Bitcoin as it continues to consolidate? Is this going to be the current low for Bitcoin price? Is it going to come down to the 786 line? Why does this look bullish? For me, it's higher lows on the RSI on the weekly are bullish. They look bullish. It's bullish momentum in my opinion. But when we start actually looking at a previous bear market exit cycle, check this out. This is 2015, namely July 2015, where we got 50-week moving average resistance, came down to a higher low, and then right out of the bear market. Now, if we look at the RSI, check this out. Look at the RSI looking so similar to our current RSI. So let me open up our current RSI on the weekly so we can kind of do this. So here's our current RSI on the weekly chart. And here is Bitcoin exiting back in 2015 into 2016. So RSI back then, RSI now. You see that? And so it's a process. And this was a process. This is back in 2015. And this was painful, right? This move, you can see. I'm sure everybody was just, oh no, we're going to put in new lows. Bitcoin's going to $50. But it was the end. And so I really sit here and I think that it could potentially be the same exact case where there's some pain, there's a higher low on the RSI, and there's a higher low on Bitcoin price. And it's painful. It's not fun. But looking back at these moments, and hopefully maybe even I can play a clip of this video, we can see that it was so necessary from the pivot from bear to bull. And I say time and time again, I really do think that the markets, in this case Bitcoin and even stock market, I think it will bottom before the economy. So the economy might have some pain for a large portion of this year, but I think the market will bottom and start reversing, and especially Bitcoin, and especially as this halving approaches for Bitcoin. And we're going to talk about in a deeper perspective why that case is very much in play, especially as it pertains to the US dollar currency index in that 2015 move. But that's for a different video. But this is what I'm watching, everybody. So Bitcoin right now in the 6 hour, it looks like, maybe it actually did fall below 20,000 as I recorded. It looks like we got a nice little wick. I didn't really see it happening, but it's happening, so close to happening right now. But you can see a wick right below $20,000. A little bit of support at that mental zone. Will be interesting to see how it holds. We know where the target is, $19,000 to $20,000 range. We're pretty much there. And then beyond that, from a support area, we know the higher low support range is in play, which is the Fibonacci swing low to swing high in the short to midterm, right down here. And it is 19,200 or so, down to around 17,500. So that's what I'm watching overnight. Tomorrow is the big day. Have to do another update video to really track how markets react, what happens to the data release, and that includes what's going on with the US dollar currency index, S&P 500, and of course, Bitcoin and crypto. Hit that subscribe for me, everybody. I appreciate you. I really do. I say that all the time, but I really appreciate you watching, especially in these tough times, and I appreciate your support. I'll see you all in the next video. God bless.